Have you ever noticed there are people who, when they say something, it actually happens? Take Jeff Bezos, for example. He started Amazon in 1994 with the sole BHAG, big hairy goal, of being the world's most consumer-centric company. And years later, that's exactly what happened. And Amazon continues to be the most consumer-centric company in the world 27 years later. So wouldn't you like to be someone who, when you say something, it happens? Then watch this first of 3 videos about the methodology I call the Owning Tomorrow performance model. What a leader says happens. We are all born with a set of hardware. That's not just our physical appearance, but also God-given gifts like ambition, intelligence, imagination, and certain kinds of talents. And then there's our software. And that's the part of us which controls our hardware, our brain, our central nervous system. But it not only controls the day, it also controls our future. And I like to think of our software as being 3 concentric circles. And it is constantly being programmed, as is software as we know it, by a variety of factors. It's mostly our parents, our siblings, peers, but also education, life experiences, all conspire to give us a set of beliefs that grow and expand, but also become firmer as we get older. And in the case of Amazon's Jeff Bezos, these sets of beliefs are centered around an idea that he's totally committed to, that consumers are at the heart, must be at the heart of every business. This then becomes a mindset. In the case of Jeff Bezos, everything he looks at and considers has to be in service of the consumer. So he has a mindset of looking for consumers, and a mindset that if it doesn't serve the consumer, he's not interested, and it isn't good for his company, nor is it for the world. Now, mindsets can be productive or unproductive. Certainly, Jeff Bezos represents a lot of very productive mindsets. Otherwise, he never would have achieved what he could achieve. But there are unproductive mindsets, mindsets such as I'm not worthy, mindsets such as I'm unique or I'm smarter than everybody else. This will get in the way in one form or another on your path to achieving your results. And then these mindsets, were either productive or unproductive, becomes the sets of behavior. And I like to separate these into empowering and disempowering. And by empowering, I mean robbing energy away from somebody or something. Disempowering is why we call it that. It's robbing the energy. And if you have a productive mindset, such as the Bezos represents, you're also going to have empowering ways of being, states of being, such as being adult, being neutral in conflict, being patient, and so forth. But if you're being unproductive, because you have a belief or mindset that is unproductive, it will become disempowering. And that could be things like nervousness, anxiety, controlling, things that rob the energy from people.
So let's turn to the other side, the side of our ambitions and our aspirations. Things like starting a company. It doesn't always have to be an Amazon or a Facebook. It's not a company, then a great career that makes money and makes us feel successful and allows us to have a family and a good life. And then the smaller results, the day-to-day results that we also need to plan for, and that's things like preparing for a presentation or a meeting, or in many cases dealing with a toxic employee. These are the results and the outcomes that most of us want. However, there's a big piece between us and what we want, and that's the external world. And the external world certainly has your friends and family foremost. Schools, these are all fairly supportive parts of the external world. And then you go into the workplace with employees, possibly staff, maybe a boss, or you own the place. And that's supportive, but it's political. You have people you have to understand the agendas of and get through. Then you have things that you have less control over, the government, the media, and so forth. And then finally, there are those events in everybody's lifetime that we have zero control over, mostly weather-related, often socio-political, things that happen at the last minute, and certainly life events that could change the course of somebody's life unknowingly. Accidents, also birth in a good way, often changes the trajectory, sometimes for the worse, sometimes for the better. So how do we get through that? How do we deal with a life of uncertainty? You have to have a decision, which I actually think is more of a commitment than anything else, because you're going to have to get through the external world. And the decisions that you make along the way have to be done in concert with the external world. There's always more people involved than just yourself. Then the most important part after that is the actions we take and the communications we make along that path that support the commitment we made to a certain outcome. And that comes from our states of being. And if you remember, our states of being can be influenced by a mindset and can be either empowering or disempowering. And the problem is it's very hard for an individual to know and to see whether or not they're being empowering or disempowering. For example, if you are anxious and nervous because you're not sure of yourself or what you're about to do, you could come across as angry, flashes of anger, impatient, nervous, and so forth, all of which will make it more difficult to achieve your goal and to get the external world behind you.